Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a Microsoft Flight Simulator video with me. Well, welcome to the Crafty Simulator channel. So, last video we flew the Westland Scout, I believe, which was the latest local legends aircraft released, or helicopter released by Asobo. Well, now we're back to what we are supposed to be doing on this channel, and that is general aviation aircraft. And this is the Carenado Piper PA-28181 Archer II. Now, I haven't really featured Carenado aircraft. I have featured before in a few videos, but I've really started to get a liking for them. Now, I know Just Flight have their series, four aircraft, I should say, of the general aviation, which are fantastic, absolute stonkers in the flight simulator world. Great priced, lots of detail inside them. But what happens if you want to try something a little bit different? You want to try a different manufacturer, different developers' aircraft. Well, here's Carenado, and they do have a rather large selection of general aviation aircraft. So I'm here to answer the question right here, right now. Is the Archer II a good alternative, not going to say better, but a good alternative to the Just Flight series of aircraft? So where does this aircraft fit in general aviation? Well, this would be a kind of aircraft that you would learn to fly in. The Cessna 152 would be an alternative as well. Fixed undercarriage, simple instruction, a simple cockpit as far as an aircraft goes, and capable of teaching you the basics of flight in a general aviation aircraft. So have Carenado done a good job? Well, I have been flying this aircraft quite a few times, and I am really starting to get impressed with it. I have got a few other general aviation aircraft from Carenado. I bought them, they're in the sim, they're waiting, and every now and again I take one out, and I get back down the ground, and I'm genuinely quite impressed with them. So, talking on the Archer II here, what do you get as a feature here with this aircraft? So let's read what Carenado themselves have put feature-wise into this aircraft. So we have 8 liveries plus 1 white livery. The white livery obviously is for livery creation. We have a GNS 430 with GTN 750 integrated option, and that's GTN 750 from PMS50.com, which is the one I've got. We also have the GTN 750XI integration option, which is the GTN 750XI from TDSSim.com. I don't have that one. We have the BK KX165 TSO nav/com radio with a BK KR87 TSO ADF system. We also have the BK KT76A transponder and the BK KMA 24 audio panel. That's a lot of letters and numbers. In short, this aircraft comes with quite a basic but fully functioning communication, navigation, transponder and map system. But if you have the GTN 750 options, of which I thrive on, if it doesn't have a G1000 system, the GTN 750 for me personally is really useful. So GTN 750, which we will be using in this aircraft on this flight today. Absolutely fantastic. So we have cold and dark, ready to taxi, ready for takeoff, start options. So these are saved states for the aircraft. So say you, at the moment, this is in the cold and dark configuration. But let's say, for instance, I want to skip all the buttons, I want to skip all the stuff, you know, and let's just get this aircraft going. So I can just go, ready for takeoff. And the aircraft will do all the buttons, flick all the buttons into the right thing, start the engine up, drop the flaps, be ready to go. And it'll do it automatically. So you have that ability to do that. It takes away from the realism, but, you know, we all don't have a lot of time in our lives to start up aircraft and do all the checklists and all that kind of stuff. By the way, this aircraft, very simple to start up. Right, so we have engine and wind sound effects when opening doors and windows. Now, I see this in a few aircraft. Not so much in the expensive aircraft, but some manufacturers and developers, they release an aircraft and you see this cat flap over here. If you open that, it doesn't change any of the sounds. Now, naturally, if you have the engine running, this thing's blowing air and wind and all that kind of stuff, you will hear a difference in the cockpit, or you should do. You open the door, exactly the same. So actually we can demonstrate that. We'll just move this over here. I've lost my mouse, there it is. At the moment, there's just a slight difference in the wind from outside. We obviously haven't started anything up. But it goes away. So simple, but adds to the realism. I like that. Original HQ high quality digital stereo sounds even recorded directly from the real aircraft, which includes engine, knobs, giggity, switches, buttons, and different elements. I keep saying this. Sounds are just as, if not a little bit more important, than the aesthetics of the aircraft. I don't know how to create a flight simulator aircraft. I haven't got a foggies. Excuse me. But if the aircraft looks right, it's good. If the aircraft sounds right, it's brilliant. And this does sound like the real aircraft. So I like that. Sounds are very important for me. So realistic flight dynamics compared to the real airplane. Realistic weight and balance tested by several pilots for maximum accuracy. Now, I've heard these words thrown around before, and I mean, I'm not a pilot. I'm not going to say this aircraft doesn't handle brilliantly. It does. It really does handle pretty darn good. Gives you a bit of a challenge as well. It doesn't flatter you. But there has been manufacturers in the past that have claimed this, and the aircraft doesn't work properly. It doesn't feel right. You know, it's too fast, or it's too manoeuvrable. This aircraft, and Carenado in general, do get their handling okay. Some aircraft that are a little bit less, some aircraft a bit better. So, on the whole, I'm going to give Carenado a pass on that. So, we have physically based rendering, PBR, materials and textures. Okay, so this is when it comes into the actual looking at the aircraft, and I'll go into this in a minute, but it does look pretty darn good. PBR materials authored with industry standard software used by the film and gaming industries. Okay, so it really does look good. That's fine with me. I like a realistic looking aircraft. And then we have tablet interface for controlling static elements, pilots, opening doors, and starting options such as cold and dark and ready to taxi. So that's how you activate these save states, which we spoke about even earlier on. So it's quite feature packed for a very light aircraft. Now, moving on to what I normally like to go on to, the exterior of this thing. It looks beautiful. It really does. Just look at the reflections on the side of the fuselage. It's lovely. It really is a lovely, well done aircraft. Looks exactly like the real thing. I can't remember when this was released. It's been out for the sim for quite a while. I don't really judge on Carenado aircraft, but this looks really, really good. No matter where you look at it. It's not an F-22 Raptor or anything, current tech or anything like that, or futuristic tech. This thing's been out for donkey's years. And it's absolutely fantastic. I think, we're getting to a stage now in Flight Simulator where when a company puts that time and effort into their aircraft, into their products, they look just like the real thing. Just look at the reflections off the sun cover there, sunblock. So I mean, what technical term is that for aircraft? But just look at the reflections. It looks absolutely, whichever way you look at it. I mean, I know it's not it ain't the biggest, bestest, fastest aircraft in the world, but I think this looks really, really good. So let's move on interior and see what happens in there. So, centralize that again. Actually, we're going to open that up because it's hot in here. So again. It looks brilliant. It looks dirty. It looks used. I like this because this is an old aircraft. This ain't no new aircraft. Click that. Moving on to the controls. Look at the wear and tear put on this column. It's exactly what you'd expect. A pilot holds that by the left hand. He's activating the trim button here, or he or she is activating the trim button here. So that's a heavy area that is used quite a lot. Because his or her right hand is probably on the throttles. or throttle or mixture. Don't get a prop picture in this aircraft. This is a basic aircraft. The next one up, which I'll do a video on, does have the prop picture a little bit more advanced. But it looks absolutely brilliant. It's an aircraft of its age. 70s, 80s, I want to say. Probably 70s, late 70s. It looks the part. It looks absolutely fantastic. Door is only on the co-pilot side. There is no door on the pilot side. Seating for two and a luggage space in the back. Even got a little cat flap. That's nice. And good sounds. Absolutely good sounds. So yeah, this really does get a pass for me. It looks absolutely awesome. Standard instrumentation. T's and P's across the bottom here. Your main battery, alternator, fuel pump, landing lights, anti-collision lights, and pitot heat are sat here. Plus your nav light sat there. Like I say, throttle, mixture, parking brake, which is a little handbrake down the bottom here. Get rid of that. Got the RPM gauge, that's important. Your mags are down here. Fuel selector, tank selector. Flaps. Again, handbrake. Forgot where to put the bloody click spot then. Moving on to the tablet, which most flight sim aircraft come with nowadays. So we'll just set that back to open one. So we have some options for static elements, external power and tow bar. These can only be fitted if the airplane is stopped on the ground. That usually helps. And all systems and engines are switched off and parking brake has been set. So we can set those, and it's neither here nor there, but it's nice it's got them. We can show and hide the pilot, show and hide the co-pilot. So at the moment I have no co-pilot. It doesn't show in the interior, but it will show on the outside. Passenger door, cargo door, and the fairings. The fairings would be these things on the wheels. Now these, amazingly, do make the aircraft go quicker. Moving over to the navigation side, so we have the option for the GTN 750Xi. I don't have that. GTN 750, this is the one I do have. So that is selected as on. And it says here it's installed, so the PMS 50 version. And then we have the cold and dark states for the aircraft. I'm not going to click on those, we're not using those. And then we have a functional takeoff checklist. So we can do this and a landing checklist. So it covers the basics. But to be honest with you, you don't really need that. If you know how to fly general aviation aircraft, you be fine. You be right. So, what are we going to do? We're here at Wickenby. Famous place. We're now parked over the right-hand side. I do believe we started the last video on the left-hand side, so we're going to be on the right-hand side here. We have switched out for the GTN 750, like I said. So let's get this thing started. So we're going to have the battery is going to be coming on. And right, if I remember correctly, let's split my throttles for the helicopter. Don't need to do that now for this. Set. Anti-collision lights. Fuel system is going to come on. And it's on. Let's just turn the TrackIR on. Let's recentralize that. So, parking brake is set. Clear on the left, clear on the right. Flip up. Switch the mags over to both. And we're looking for about 1,000 RPM, which we're at. Alternator is coming on. We'll let that initialize. So we should do our flap test. So again, that's the handbrake down here. Flap to one stage. Checked on both sides. Flaps all the way down. Checked on both sides. And flaps up. Dead simple. This is a simple aircraft. alternator squawking. So we are going to fly over to Waddington, so let's get that set up into here. So, if I remember correctly, map, flight plan, no, remove that, set destination, Echo Golf X-Ray Wilco, 11.1 miles away. I don't know if we can put a procedure. We'll do it. We'll do it by eye. It's not like we know that we don't know the area. That puts sort of our magenta line. That's the distance. We're not going to be going far today. So that's all set. The lights are all set. Well, flaps one stage for takeoff. So, coming off the parking brake, let's roll out. This aircraft does take a little bit of throttle before it starts rolling on grass. So what I generally find with this aircraft, or most Carenado aircraft, if you want to compare them to the Just Flight series, the Just Flight ones are more feature-packed, more realistic, and I would say on the whole, they are better aircraft. This aircraft, it's a little bit more forgiving. You know, if you miss something, you don't generally have to be worried about it too much. And just for note, this is the Burning Blue Designs Wickenby Airfield. Lovely airfield, just like most of Burning Blue Designs projects. So we're not going to do a run up, but like I say, this is quite a basic aircraft. We don't really need to worry about that too much. So that makes it a little more quieter. So prop pitch is prop pitch mixture is coming to full. Fuel pump is still on. Landing lights are on. P's and P's are fine. I think we are ready to roll. So just remembering the runway here at Wickenby, there's a lovely hump about 2/3 the way down. That usually throws us up into the air. So final checks. Parking brake is off, flaps on one stage, gear don't worry about. Okay, sit on the wheel brakes and let's rev her up. In fact, I'm just going to set the audio a little bit higher, let you hear the aircraft. So let's go. Airspeed's alive. There's 50. There's 60. Here's the hump. Slight pull back on the stick. And we're airborne. A little bit of a bumpy takeoff, but we're up. aircraft to get airborne. Obviously, you don't have to worry about your undercarriage, that's one thing you can take off the checklist. Coming off and landing lights off. Don't need them now. So when I was saying about this aircraft being quite basic, it has no autopilot. I don't know whether there's versions of this aircraft that do have autopilot, but you do learn how to fly this aircraft. But she's a very good aircraft, I've got to say. I'm very impressed. I mean, Carenado have been at this for years. Maybe just as long as Just Flight in the Flight Simulator franchise. I can remember them back in FSX days. And I always found them good-looking aircraft, but maybe feature lacking, or maybe some questionable choice of sounds. But from the aircraft I have actually flown, I've got to say they're actually really are very good here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. But if you do want to learn how to fly a general aviation aircraft, this and the Just Flight series are very, very good. The Warrior is on Just Flight, which I think is their version of the fixed undercarriage Piper aircraft. Good for training. There's been a few issues with the Flight Simulator recently. I only get, due to work commitments, I don't get as much time on the Flight Sim as I probably want, but I tried to get on the Flight Sim and it wouldn't load up. Turned out there was some server related issues, Microsoft related issues, which affected the sim and quite a lot of other things. So to be honest, it's been quite difficult for me to get practice on the sim. In the previous video of the Scout, I had to think what I flew then, I did mention that I'd only done a couple of flights in the Scout, which is not ideal for a new aircraft or new helicopter for me. I do like to try and get an idea of how that aircraft and helicopter handles. So when I wasn't flying the Scout, I was flying this and a few other Carenado aircraft just to get a little idea of what I can put into future videos. So there is going to be a little bit of a influx of Carenado aircraft here in the sim, here in the video, here in the channel even. You might be wondering why is I feature RAF Waddington so many times in Flight Simulator videos, and that's basically because it is my home RAF base. I don't live a million miles away from this one, it's the closest one. And the scenery that I use is on flightsim.to, which is a lot better than the standard simulator version of RAF Waddington, which is to be expected. It's completely free. So there's that price point, I love that. So I'm just going to make a run in over RAF Waddington's runway. Runway 20. And we'll enter the circuit. We'll start setting the aircraft up for landing, so we'll have fuel pump coming on, landing lights will be on. And if you're telling me that VA aircraft do not operate from RAF Waddington, with it being a military airbase, I will say you might just be wrong, because there is the Aero Club base here at RAF Waddington. And they have a Cessna 152 off the top of my head, and they have another aircraft, and there is aircraft that do visit when the base is out of hours, or the weekend when the RAF doesn't work. Good visuals in this aircraft, good left and right visuals. It's always good when doing a visual approach that you can properly see where you're going. That low wing also assists in the visual, or being able to see where you're going and where you want to go. So as you remember from a previous video, I have a particular flight route I like to fly, which takes me over some visual cues and bring me nicely in onto runway 20 here at Waddington. So we are looking for, we're going to fly over this farm, and then we're going to fly towards a blue building which is on the outskirts of one of the villages here, and then we start our left-hand turn and descent into RAF Waddington. So I'm just seeing the blue building popping up just now. I don't know what it is, I'm perfectly honest, but it's blue, it stands out from a mile away, so that's what I'm going to be using. So, blue building just passing our 11 o'clock, that'll do. That's one stage. Looking for our next waypoint, which is a building just off the side of the A46. So landing checks, we have fuel pump is on, landing lights are on, flaps one, stage gear not to worry about. Approaching to runway 20, got plenty long enough runway. So if we pass down the right hand side of this building coming up, that usually puts us well within visual range of the runway and on a nice approach into runway 20. Slipping in onto finals. Looking for a touchdown around 75. Approaching 80. Throttle back, nose back. And touchdown. Pull back the mixture now. Just lean the engine out a little bit. That's coming up. So I'll open the cat flap up. It's a little bit on the warm side. So fuel pump can come off, landing lights can come off, flaps are retracted. Parking brake is set. Nice little shake on the shutdown. Always adds to the realism. Avionics coming off. Alternators off. Anti-collision lights are off. Batteries off. So, starting this video off with the question, is this aircraft better than Just Flight's series of Piper aircraft? I'm not going to say it's better. It looks great, sounds great, handles great. Few issues with the trim, I find, but that might be my setup personally. But it's a very good alternative. It's been in the sim a little bit longer than Just Flight, but it is a good alternative. And Just Flight have created their Piper aircraft, Carenado have created some other Piper aircraft. So I think what we have here is room to have all of them together. It's fantastic, I think. This is a very good training aircraft. There is more advanced aircraft with folding undercarriage, prop pitch levers, better navigational systems, autopilot systems, for instance, and they will feature in future videos. So yeah, I think this is a very good aircraft. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments about this aircraft, or this flight in general, or in Flight Simulator in general, I'm more than happy to talk Flight Simulator till the cows come home. So if you have any questions, please bang them below. And I will see you guys and girls in a future Microsoft Flight Simulator video very, very soon.